Edward Laos. Welcome to Travel Talk, filmed at the Peachtree Rose Marketing Studios and hosted by the hotel guide publisher, Edward Laos.
Good evening, everybody. Edward Laos here, publisher of the Hotel Guide and your host of Travel Talk. Man, I'm really excited about today's episode. We got two industry leaders in their respective rights in one podcast. So I love what we're doing here. We got a lot of great things happening. I got Christopher Warren and also Scott Eddy on the call. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for asking, Edward.
Perfect.
Good. Is this the first time you're doing a threesome podcast?
We actually had this will be the second time, and that
Nice.
I knew that was going to come
you're
up
experienced in this
from you guys. No, but this is actually the more professional version. The last one had two people trying to get the same image, and it was a little challenging at a hotel. So this is even better. I get to see three unique individuals here. So why don't we start with? I always like to get our guests, let them know, or let our readers and listeners know a little bit about our guests and who we have on the call. Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, kind of how you got to what you're doing now, and then I'll kind of ask Scott the same thing, and then we'll just kind of get into some of the things that we want to talk about within the hospitality industry.
Well, thank you, Edward. I appreciate being on the podcast. So Christopher Warren, I am a hotel hospitality photographer. I shoot cruise lines, hotels, and restaurants, anything that does with the hospitality industry. This career with the hospitality industry started roughly just over 3 years ago. It's not the first time I picked up a camera. I've been involved with cameras my whole life. Going back, I was published by National Geographic Earshot. Been in numerous magazines, Forbes, Afar. But going into the hospitality industry, you're trying to capture the essence of the brand. And I remember meeting Scott on a beach one day. We were all over social, communicating back and forth. And Scott's like, "Did you ever shoot food?" I'm like, with my phone, maybe, That's probably with the flip phone, but he's like, "Let's go to the restaurant." I'm doing a campaign. So I went back home. I grabbed my camera. And next thing I know, I was shooting food. I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. But Scott's like, "Wow, those images came out good." I'm like, "Okay, maybe this is another leg in a career I can take." And I think that was the start of our venture. And then actually the next morning, I was able to hop in the water. So I also do ocean photography. So there's many aspects that I could actually cover for the hospitality industry. So we shoot resorts in the Caribbean or anywhere. We're going to Canada next week. I'm not sure I'm going to hop in the ocean for that, but I'm able to get split level shots, inside the ocean, inside pools. Not many photographers in this industry are actually able to achieve that effect. So pairing up with Scott has been a blessing. As you know, a lot more people probably know about Scott, but we bring both of our personalities and basically our capabilities to the hospitality industry to showcase basically what the hospitality industry is.
I've seen some of your work, and it's actually just stunning. It really is awe-inspiring, and I'm a creative myself. So when you see a good creative doing some good work and excellent work, you just, you want to applaud them. So when Scott was saying, "Hey, let's get the three of us on a podcast," I was like, that's a no-brainer. Let's just make this happen. And so I know Scott's sitting quietly on the other side, and I want our guests who actually haven't met him, not our guests, but our listeners who haven't met him yet, to kind of, Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are, and maybe even how you and Chris kind of are doing some great things in the industry together.
So my background's investment banking. I did it for 10 years. And then I lived in Europe and Asia for 17 years. And the longest stretch was Thailand. I lived in Bangkok for 11 years. And I was there when social media came out. And on a whim, I had no background, no marketing skills, no skills. And I started the first digital agency in Asia, and all my clients were hotels. So it was sort of an aggressive on-the-job training. And I loved it. I mean, it's using Chris's word, it's a blessing to be in the hospitality industry because what Chris didn't say is he's from finance as well, but he did it for like 21 years. And the difference between the people in the finance industry and the hospitality industry, it is, I mean, it's like two different planets.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be happier. One thing I can elaborate a little bit on is, so me and Chris that morning on the beach, we met on DM, and he saw me from the back and he saw the shine off my head and he's like, "Oh, I know that ball guy." And yeah, exactly, literally. And so this is an attestament that you can meet great people on DM. So it's not always, I've met most of the people in my life on social media, but he me from the investment banking world doing social media and hospitality and marketing and speaking these days, it's such a drastic difference, and not being trained for it, I feel that I look at the hospitality industry different than people that have been in it for 40 years.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes Chris a great photographer in hospitality, because he's not from that industry, even though he's had a camera his whole life. He's mostly done ocean stuff and underwater and turtles. And I mean, if you look at his real stuff, not the hospitality stuff, it's night and day compared to what he does now. But I think that's what makes him good at this,
Yeah.
because he hasn't been shooting hotel rooms for 100 years.
Mhm.
Like there's only so many different ways you can shoot a hotel room. Like
Well, that's a cool thing.
I
We bring some motion into it too, because that's going to the ocean photography, where we'll have kind of like that soft person walking through the foyer, the lobby.
or a wave crashing on top of your head.
Yeah, just something that's going to stop a person and say, "What's the hotel about? What's going on at this place?"
Yeah. That's a great point. Tell me a little bit about how you both, I know from the social side for Scott and then Chris from the photography side, how do you capture the essence of a great property or a great cruise line to translate that to guests and guest experience?
So one thing I do is I do a lot of research before I work with a brand. Especially coming up or working with a new company, I did some research. You kind of look at the profile of what they're showing out there to the public. I don't want to copy that. I will never copy another person's image. It has nothing to do with that. But just to kind of see the colors that they're using, the baseline that they're using, and then throw my artistic spin on it, because that's why you're hiring me. You're hiring me for my artistic eye. Yes, everybody can have, a Hasselblad camera, this, that, the best equipment out there. Honestly, it's the eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the eye, the creative momentum that is going to carry you through a shoot. Because like you said, shooting food, F&B, you know what I'm saying? They said it's one of the hardest things to shoot out there, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to tap myself on the back.
No, it's true.
Very good at it.
We've seen your work, and obviously Scott is a testament to seeing it as well. So,
because you're shooting a still subject, but you got to make that subject pop. You got to make basically you're in the F&B and side of the business, of the hospitality side. You're working to bring the craft of that, basically a chef, the bartender. You're bringing basically two artists together, and you're trying to show them in the best light. And that's basically, every brand has a little different light that I'll shine on in a different way or different aspect. I mean, anything from shooting, if you're shooting, sort of say a sports bar inside a cruise or whatever it is, or, just in there, granted, it's going to be a burger and a fry, but you got to make it sexy. You know what I'm saying? It's honestly good to how you place the burger in a bun and everything, the lighting, how it comes into, up to shooting the Michelin star restaurants. I mean, like the place we shot in Budapest. Wolfgang. I mean, that was, that's an amazing restaurant. So we shoot across the board.
You start talking about all the different ways to shoot and the angles. And I love too, the fact that you acknowledge that the creative eye is what separates a great photographer from anyone else, because I think everybody has the tools. Scott and I, we have the tools for social media, for marketing, but if you don't have the right eye and the right feel for it, that's the separation between everything else, because a camera is a camera is a camera. I'm not trying to downplay that, but what the person behind the camera is the one who creates those images, those artworks, those videos that are just unique to everything else. So I applaud both you guys for what y'all are doing with that. Tell me one of your most memorable photo shoots that or ventures that the two of you guys have been on.
What's been your favorite, Chris?
Does it have to be a photo shoot or just a good
Oh
first?
no,
Trip. True,
it could
because you
be
basically
whatever.
do photo shoots on every trip.
Yeah.
Well, eating pizza. And these are not glamour shots. These are just, memories. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we were eating pizza at Stonehenge.
Temple
We were eating pizza
at the pyramids.
I mean, just stuff like this. I mean, just it's granted, it's not that image that you're going to post on a sort of say the company's website or something like that, but it's good for their social because it shows you can have fun on these cruises and everything like that, even though it's more of a sort of say a stringent environment, not a stringent, but upper tier cruise that we're on. You're still going to have fun. But shooting Antarctica was amazing.
Wow.
So I have only personally been on a large ship. Scott, you've been on boat ships.
So you
And
can't stop. You can't stop on a big ship. You have to have less than 500 guests to stop in Antarctica.
so I can't even wait till we get up there until I
Oh
get
yeah,
the small ship because I
yeah,
was
yeah.
wow. I mean, we were honestly, I mean, shooting even with the iPhone. I mean, not even zoomed in.
Yeah.
We were passing icebergs. I mean, there was penguins. I mean, it was
Couldn't
amazing.
believe how close we were.
Yeah. And then even going to the riverside, the river cruises, and everything like that. I mean, just there's so many different dimensions of cruising. Same thing with the hospitality. Sorry, with same thing with hotels.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I don't have any kids, but it's like, hey, pick your favorite pet. You know what I'm saying? Is there a favorite cruise line? Is there a
Sure.
favorite hotel? Not really. Everyone has a different fit, and there's a
Yeah.
specific need for that. And even just shooting that, you got to pick up that to basically kind of follow not the guidelines, but what that company's trying to portray. And that's what I try to capture in my photography.
And that's a good point right there because I was literally going to ask you that. How do you and Scott capture the essence of a property or a cruise line with what you do? And that separates you from everything else because obviously you're a growing brand and growing business with everything you're doing. But what is the greatest challenge that you guys face when taking on a new client, whether it's a resort or a restaurant or a cruise? And how do you overcome it?
So I have something to add on to that question as far as challenges. Um, what are the difference in challenges shooting a cruise cabin and a hotel room?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well,
So
there's the answer
answer
right
all
there.
that.
Keep on this one or no?
No.
um, well, we are definitely blessed in the cruise cabins that we get. So we do have a little more, so to say, elbow room in these cabins to shoot certain cabins. But to shoot in smaller constricted areas, it's hard to showcase. What am I trying to say? It's basically kind of hard to showcase it in a large manner, so to say, because
Sure.
we all know we got to shoot the wide angle lens that's going to make it look bigger and everything. So that's, I mean, I shouldn't have said that. But certain times you just want to shoot the details. So even if you're in a small room, you pick up what that company's showing out there, and maybe the certain brand of a record player, or alarm clock, lights, whatever it is, because there's a thought process that the hotel put into that. There's obviously a reason why they picked that attribute to be in that room. And I try to focus on that sometimes if it's a smaller room. That way you can kind of showcase of what the company's putting forward with their amenities and everything. Sometimes it shows better than just a little cabin.
Yeah.
So you just got it when you walk into the room, you kind of get a visualization. I'll kind of walk around in a circle, kind of pedal around, figure out the best point of view, and take a few shots.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Let me ask you guys this question from start to finish. How long does a normal job with a resort or a cruise line take to do the combination of the social side of things, the content for that, and also for your photo shoots? How long does something like that normally take for a client?
So it's a loaded question because we do a combination of, my influencer campaign thing and a photo shoot. And it all depends on what like say a resort, right? We just did a resort in Maui, Hana Maui. It was unbelievable. But we went for 2 weeks.
Mm,
Not that we couldn't do it in a week, but what if you have rain one day?
yeah,
What if something happens? Like what if, you're not renting out the whole resort. There's guests there. So
sure.
what if you're doing drone shots of the swimming pool one day and that day swimming pool's busy? So we always plan for worst case scenario, and we always do a longer trip versus a shorter trip. That way you're not under any kind of stress. I mean, can you run and gun and finish things in 3 or 4 days? Absolutely. Will you get the same quality work that we're
Yeah.
doing right now? Absolutely not. So, Chris,
Yeah,
besides
no.
eating pizza, how long does it take?
No, like Scott's saying, definitely the longer shoots help out because whether to say because you always have customers in a hotel, you never really see a vacant hotel.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of my certain shots, I would wake up 3 o'clock in the morning for to get sort of say either those nighttime images where there's nobody out there because that's the other thing is too we're trying to be invisible to the customers that we're shooting at any property, hotel, cruise line, whatever it is. We're trying to be out of everybody's way, not seeing anything.
and and imagine this. Imagine doing that on a sold out cruise, which we've done multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
So there's always you think you're going to do the shoot on Monday, and unfortunately, there's an accident that happened in the kitchen or something like that with the chef, and they didn't have enough chefs in hand, so we got to push it off to Tuesday. Now Tuesday we were supposed to shoot the spa. Now that's getting all backed up, and
Yeah.
so but that's learning just how to work around and just be malleable to the situation. That's the other thing about hiring us, and a good photographer is being able to work in any environment out there. Because what happens
Yeah.
if you plan on doing a shoot, sort of say outside for the food, and it's cloudy and it's raining?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, like one time, how we were on that cruise. How many different rooms were we running in and out of food? I think we were using 4 or 5 different situations because I just wasn't like I didn't like the lighting. Granted, I could have probably fixed it maybe in Photoshop, but that's you never want to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's your last resort. Being a good photographer, you want to capture everything in a photograph. Granted, I mean everything has to go through Photoshop. That's how we edit now. That's our Lightroom.
Yeah.
And aspect of the business is when we get back from the trip. I mean, granted, it looks like we're having fun and everything like that. Is the hour upon hours of editing after the
Yeah.
people don't see? That's really where the hard work comes in, because just even going through a food shoot, so to say, you can take 50, 100 images, whatever it is, going through those images, it's going to take you a couple hours just to pick the ones that you like. The ones that you like, you got to go back and then you're going to edit those. And then you got to curate them together. And, we have, it's there's a lot of behind the scenes work. Everybody sees us smiling on the camera and doing everything like that. Yes, we're blessed. But there is a lot of work that goes
Oh
into it.
yeah. No.
I think my
100%.
hours on Wall Street were shorter than this. At least I had off on weekends.
No, I agree with you on that. That's the curse of creativity. People look at the final product and think everything was easy to do. And yes, what we do is not digging ditches, being at nice hotels and resorts and cruises and promoting them and being hosted by them is an amazing gig. But there is a price to pay for that with the work and effort. And if you want to do it right. Now, granted, we know a lot of people who take those things and just kind of put out so-so products, but we're very fortunate to focus on great quality going forward in everything that we do. So we got a few minutes here as we're wrapping up. What do you guys have on tap? Anything big for 2025? That's the first question. And number two, what's the best way for our listeners to contact you, whether it's website, I already know Scott's answer, and going from there. So Either one, Chris or Scott.
So we're doing a very cool trip, literally on Monday. We're
Cool or cold?
we're heading up to the super cold. We're heading up to the Quebec region. We're doing a campaign for Quebec City tourism for 3 nights. We're staying in the Ice Hotel the first night, which first time for both of us doing that. And then we're staying at Frontenac, the Fairmont there, which is the most photographed hotel in the world, and the hotel that I've been dying to get Chris to for the past couple of years. And then we're hopping on Ponant, which is an ultra luxury French cruise line, but very, very boutique. Like this cruise, I think max is 125 people
Wow.
or 200 people or 250,
240.
something like that. And they're not sold out. So it's very small, but they are icebreaker cruise ships. So they're going to be cruising up the St. Lawrence for the first time anybody's done this itinerary in 100 years, breaking the ice and stopping. And it's a 10-night cruise. And we're going all the way up to almost Montreal. And then I'm staying in Montreal for a couple nights. And then, so those 2 weeks are going to be very, very cool. And then we have a lot of things pending, but the only things that are confirmed is this. We're doing Crystal's new ship in the Med in May, and we're also doing a campaign for the Istria region of Croatia for 2 weeks in May. Other than that, I have Sri Lanka pending, Maldives pending, Greece pending, London, a lot of pendings.
Nice. A lot of good stuff. Well, that's good. And obviously, Scott, how do people find you?
Mr. Scott Eddy, right there.
Scott
Mr. Scott Eddy, right there.
I knew that was the answer. Chris, I know you guys are going to be kind of on a lot of the same places. Anything big otherwise planned for 2025 for you? And then what's the best way for people to find you and contact you?
Nope. Like I said, me and Scott are basically a team. We work together. So basically, anywhere he goes, I go. Anywhere I go, he goes. So basically, you can find me at C Warren Travels. That's CWARREN Travels. At Instagram and Blue Sky, and C Warren Travel .com on the internet.
Wow, sounds great. Well, I love having you guys on the show. I cannot wait to see the pizza photos at now that I know the inner secret here.
Think about that. Pizza in the snow.
Oh, dude, we're going ice fishing. You know where pizza's going. I
just thought about that. There you go. I expect to get a text or a WhatsApp sent to me before it goes public. But no, guys, no, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I know it won't be the last time. Chris Scott is now on our International Board of Advisors for the Hotel Guide. So it's a true blessing to have his industry leading expert side of things. And then Chris, I know you guys are a team, so probably wherever he goes, you'll be a part of what we're doing here with the Hotel Guide too. And as we talked about offline, for all of our listeners and readers out there, you will be seeing content from Chris Warren in the Hotel Guide and always also from Scott Eddy throughout 2025. So some of the top images, some of the top social media work is going to be showcased on the Hotel Guide. And I couldn't be happier about having these two gentlemen alongside me on this journey. So for all of our listeners, for all of our readers, follow us at thehotelguide.com, like, subscribe. And as we always like to say, travel and make memories. Until next time, take care and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much, Edward.
You got it.